Hi everybody, I'm David Corsaro, and it's time to be awesome. I'm up here in Batavia, New York at the Effectors Convention, and I brought my good friends Christian and Katalina over to talk to us a little bit. Hi, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Hey,
appreciate it.
Fun, yeah.
So, if you know Christian and Katalina, they have a hotel show that they've been doing in Indianapolis for how many years?
6 years.
6 years. So for 6 years now, every week, you guys are doing a public show, a show where people can buy tickets and come see it. Not just a show for magicians, but for the general market.
Yes,
absolutely.
Perfect. I've talked to a lot of people, and there's a lot of people who watch this show who talk to me about how they're writing their own show. They want to be able to do something like this, something like what you guys are doing in Indianapolis, something like Steve Cohen's doing in New York, or people are doing all over the country. You've been successful at this for 6 years now. That's not an accident. You guys are doing something right.
Yeah.
Can you talk to a little bit about maybe like just a couple of the things that you wish you knew when you were starting off that you've learned over these 6 years of bumps and bruises to make your show successful? Like, what's one of the biggest things that you wish you knew back then that maybe somebody who wants to get into this field should know before they get started?
Okay, great. And so I will start right here. Kat has a question that's the number one question every single time, and that is,
Do you have a show? And the reason we say that is because if you're going to start an attempt to do this, you have to have a show. It has to be solid, it has to be good, it has to be a good show. Because you won't be focusing on the show when you're trying to start a show in a venue.
Right.
You're going to be focusing on the business side, how to get butts and seats. So you don't have time to focus on building your act.
and
that
it's
has
not
to be
mean,
finished.
yeah, and you don't mean a show that I've written.
No.
It's got to be a show that,
It's polished, you've performed it, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of times. Thousands would be preferable, but you've got to have it down
Yes.
because you don't have time. It's
No.
business
no.
from this point
and
forward.
if you think you can write a show on paper, and then in a week or 2 weeks later it's going to be great, it's not, because you're not going to have all the little bits. You don't even know if some of the pieces work yet or not. And a show is also not just a series of tricks, right? It's not just, well, you know what, I'm going to put this trick here, then I'll move this. It's not, there's got to be callbacks, there's got to be a thread that runs through your show. This is show. You're competing with major shows in your town.
And you have to understand, your show has to be good. Now, because you're going to get the public to give you feedback on the show. And
Whether you want it or
whether
not.
you want it or not, they're going to put it out there. It's going to be out there all over the internet, social media, it's going to be all over. And you do not want negative reviews right off the bat, because it's very difficult to recover from that. You've got to have the boom, my show's fantastic, and
once those reviews are out there, you
they're out
can't
there.
pull
You
them
can't pull back.
Right.
No.
You're done. I mean, once your show's launched, you can't go, oh, that didn't work well. Let me just stop my show and restart it somewhere else. No, it's your name or whatever, it's there. Your whatever happened is out there. So if your show didn't start off super well, that's it. They're there forever.
What you're saying is like you really can't count on that first show to figure things out. You can't
No.
count on that. I'm
No.
going to get feedback from the audience to see if this trick that
No.
has to be so polished
That
that
should've
on
been
day
done
one there's
years
not a
ago.
nick in that cranny anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, you're never going to have. I mean, even though we had kind of perfected the show in the college years, we did a lot of college shows, and then we also were working resort shows for a long time. And you would think those would be very close to just doing a show in a venue like we're in, but it wasn't. There was still changes that had to be made. Audiences a little bit different and that sort of thing. So even though we had what we thought was a very polished show, we still had to make slight changes in the new venue with the new types of audiences. So there's no way you're going to write a show and that show is going to be great on day one. It's impossible.
So the course of action is not write a show, find a place for it.
No.
That those are miles apart.
If I'm in Vegas, I'm putting 90% of my stuff on failure on that one. We're just betting on failure because there's no way that's going to work.
It's got to be so polished, so well done, so everything that all your attention can focus on things
That's
other
right.
than what that show is. Now, you said a second ago it's going to be all business from that point on.
That's right.
Talk about that a little bit in terms of who's doing the marketing, how are you getting the butts in the seats?
Well, it's us. We have to get the butts in the seats.
That's right.
You cannot rely on the venue to get
No.
the people there. It's not their responsibility. It's your responsibility. It's your show. You have to make it successful.
That's
so
right.
you have to figure out what are the best avenues. How are people finding out about the show? And then you have to target that audience. Who is your audience?
Yeah, who is your audience? That's
Yeah.
right.
What are the
And
demographics for your
And
audience?
here's what people think. They think, well, if I do this venue, whether it be a resort or a hotel or a small theater or whatever, they'll think, oh, well, they'll do all the marketing for me, and I will just be the amazing.
I'll show up, amaze,
Yeah.
and leave.
Yeah.
No, that will never happen, because you're going to find out that first of all, the hotels and the resorts don't care about you.
Right.
Hey, you're a nice thing for us to have, and they might help a little or not, But if you depend on them, you're done. It won't happen. It's not going to happen.
I've heard a few people say that, and oh, the place didn't promote me right. Whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a hotel show or something else, they didn't promote me right.
Yeah.
And I have a problem with that mindset. It's not, your success is on you.
Well, I think the problem is magicians think, well, I'm this great show, so people should promote me. And that's not the way the world works. You're a great show. You start promoting. What will happen is people will start helping promote you once you've already promoted yourself successfully. So once you start getting good and the word's out, now people start coming to you going, gosh, we would like to help you. But in the beginning, no one's going to want to. And the only reason they want to help you then is because, oh gosh, I can attach my name to something that's already successful.
That's true.
So, yeah, you have to think from day one that wherever you go in your venue, they're not going to promote you. Even if they say they will not. And it's not because they're being mean. They might really think you have a great show. Oh, gosh, we'll love to help you. But then they get distracted by their business.
Of course.
Right?
That's where they're making most of their money.
That's right.
That's what they're...
That's right. You're just kind of...
You're an afterthought.
Yeah, you're a garnish on the plate
Yes.
is what you are. You know, you're not... They don't care about you. You're not changing their life, whatever venue you're working in. So, yeah, you better understand marketing yourself. And when I have magicians tell me, well, I'm just not good at that, somebody else needs to do it. Well, okay, then you're not going to work. I mean, what is that?
Well, either that or you're super rich and you can hire someone to do it.
No, well, that'd be nice
That's
too.
the other
Yeah.
side, yeah. But
That's the other side.
that's not as many of us as we'd like
No.
to
That 1% out there.
Yeah.
potentially. But all right, so what I'm hearing right now. So I've got one final question. But what I'm hearing right now is, look, that show's got to be tried, tested, improved. Your years, maybe your hundreds of performances away before you even think about, let me find a place for
Yes,
it.
yes. I would say, in fact, I would to really be honest with you, I would like to see 500 performances. You need to have that show, whatever it is, 500 performances. What are you going to say?
Can I
Debbie?
make a no?
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, I should have a 45-minute show. No, your show needs to be an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then you have to decide if you want an intermission in there or not. If you're going to have 2
Oh,
hours, I
yeah.
suggest an intermission. If not, 90 minutes, because people think they're going to see a theater show.
That's right.
You don't go to the theater for 45 minutes.
Right.
You go to the theater for an hour and a half. You expect this to be a full experience.
And I would even say further, I like when you said maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of material or a show, because what you might find out is when you get in there, this piece isn't working, so I have to pull it out. Well, what else do you have? You know, if you don't have, so what Catalina just said is, you're right, I forgot about this. An hour and a half of material is what you have. The show is an hour and a half long. But when we started realizing, okay, this piece isn't quite working with that kind of audience. We pulled out, we were able to drop another piece in and drive on. Which now means you have to have more than an hour and a half. You have to have a lot of material to draw on. And we had that because of 10 years working in the college market, 2 years in the resort market. We had a ton of tried and tested material.
Let me make sure I'm understanding this part. So you're talking about like 2 hours of tried and tested material, so that when you launch your show, okay, that you've got this 2 hours of great material for, you can then, based on venue, based on market, based on audience, begin to move things around a little bit within there to get the best hour and a half for what
That's
you
right.
got.
Yes.
Because it's not a parade of tricks. You have to have in this kind of show, because you're competing with the major shows in your town, right? You're competing with
any
comedy
entertainment in your town.
That's right.
Your movie theater competing against.
That's right. And so if you need to have callbacks in your show, you have to have running jokes in your show. You have to have, it can't just be, and for my next trick,
Yeah.
because the audiences you're going to get are going to be more sophisticated. And they're going to feel that. They're going to know, I think this guy's just starting out. You know, if it's just this trick, and then trick, and then trick. They can feel that. They know. And so you got to have an integrated show.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question then. So let's assume that somebody has done their 2 hours of material, everything's good. Now they actually find a place, they're able to focus on marketing, but they want to sustain themselves. They want to be in this venue for a long time.
Sure.
Is there any one thing to kind of think about early for projecting yourself long term?
Have a fat bank account to start. and
You need capital. You need
you
something.
need capital. And I'm not saying that, mean or whatever, but you don't know what works in the marketing. You don't know where, this isn't, you're still testing. You don't even know about marketing yet. You have to test it. Do I market here? Do I spend money here? You have to track that. You have to know what you're doing. When you start, you're going to have shows of 8 people. There's no way around that. you know, after you do your initial, well, here's all my friends and family, here's my magic buddies.
Okay.
So you'll see a lot of people starting like, oh, I sold out. Yeah, well, that's all your friends and buddies.
Right.
And their families. But then by
That
the
will
third or
die
fourth
down,
show,
yeah.
suddenly, oh, I had 8 people at my show. Well, you have to power through that. And you also have to remember, if you're going to run a show like that, it's going to be on Friday or Saturday night. Well, that's, normally you'd be working corporate or something. You know, you'd have
So
some other
you're
venue.
missing other income.
That's right. And you can't just say, well, I only got 8 people, I'm going to shut that show down, and then maybe next week it'll be better. No, because the audiences are going to read it wherever you are in the paper or internet, and they're going to go, oh, canceled, and you're just slitting your own throat.
That's true.
No matter what, you have to power on, which means you're going to lose money for many months before you make money. So if you don't have that bank account, though, because I'll have people come up to us and they'll go, well, I got $500. Okay, you can probably have some tickets printed for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that bank account, sorry, there's no way around that.
See, the biggest thing that I'm hearing out of this is that if this is something you have a passion for, if you feel like I want this type of Steve Cohen Painters type show out there, it has to. It's not something you're going to go, I want to try this. I mean, it's got to be, this is my goal. I'm thinking long term.
Yes.
So I have to put the work in now before I even find a place, before I think about marketing, before I do whatever. I have to get this show ready to go. I have to have the bank account or at least a strong plan with some financial backing behind it in place before I can find the venue, before I can begin to tweak things based on the market,
right.
before I can start to market myself, before I can hope to become successful.
Yeah. Yeah, see, that's simple.
That's real simple. Real simple. You can't fix those. But the truth of the matter is that if this is something that you want to do, if this is something you have a passion about, it does work.
It does
Yes,
work.
it does
If you have the passion for it and you have the drive for it and the determination for it, it's going to work. Steve does it in New York. You guys do it in Indianapolis. 6 years. I mean, Indianapolis is a great place, but you don't have the turnover that somebody like New York has.
That's right.
Sure.
You know,
Exactly.
But
Right.
I mean, it's a great market, but it takes skill, it takes talent, it takes marketing to sustain themselves like you guys have done for 6 years. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So if you guys are ever in Indianapolis, I highly suggest you go check out their show. It's really great. I want to thank you guys very much for
Okay.
coming on. I
Thanks.
appreciate
Yeah,
it. Christian,
thanks a lot.
Katalina, thank you so much. I thank you guys very much for watching. If anybody has any questions, you can email us, email me at the show, or you can find them on Facebook. Check them out. I highly recommend it. I'm David Corsaro. That's Christian and Katalina. Now, go be awesome, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.